Hello everyone, welcome back to Force Strategy Gaming. I have got a Protoss strategy for you today. Now today the opponent is going to be a Terran player. It's actually MVP, and the player we're focusing on here is NEX Cygnus. So we're going to go right into Cygnus's vision here, and just right off the bat I'm going to say this. When we think about, the tactics that we're playing in the game and what we're doing, sometimes you'll go into a game sometimes with a set build order, like, I'm against I'm a Protoss player and I'm against another Protoss, maybe I'll 4-gate, or I'm against a Zerg, maybe I'll forge fast expand. But the biggest thing is most of the time it's going to be really determinant on your scouting information. This is something we talk about a lot, but that's because it's important. It's important for you guys to know that scouting does play a big role in how you should be playing, and that includes your build order. Now what we're going to see here is we actually see Cygnus opening up with a 2-gate, going Stalker heavy early on for some aggression. It's going to be a 2-gate Robo with some early heavy Stalker for aggression. Then what ends up happening is Cygnus, spotting the expansion, comes out with 2 additional gateways and goes for a very strong push. 4-gate, 1 Robo on 1 base. That's very unorthodox. You don't see that most of the time because it's very all-in-y. That's basically way too many production buildings when you're just mining from 1 base. But since he scouts a fast expansion from his Terran opponent, he decides, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out with 2 additional gateways, I'm going to push out, and I'm going to be very aggressive. Now, I'm going to slow it on down right now. We can see didn't get an early game Zealot. As I mentioned, he opened up with the 2 gateways going Stalker heavy. This opening is actually pretty solid because it can allow you to deny scouting but also do a little bit of early aggression. A lot of Terran players early on will be sitting Marine heavy, and early on the Stalker does very well at softening up the Marine and taking them out without much issue. But I'm going to pause just really quickly because I do want to run over the build order very quick. Alright, so the opening was 9 Pylon, 13 gateway, 16 supply, went for a double Assimilator, 1 on each of the 2 Vespene geysers. 16 supply was also that Cybernetics Core, and then 18 supply was that 2nd gateway. So started building some more workers, and then 18 supply was the 2nd gateway. Now basically what's going to happen is as soon as the Cybernetics Core finishes, start coming out with the Stalkers. We can see those are being chrono boosted out, and also obviously start that warp gate research. The idea at this early stage of the game is going to be map control. You use the Stalkers to deny scouting of your Terran opponent, and then once you have a few, actually pushing out with your force and trying to do a little bit of aggression. And we are also going to see him, so we can see right now how easy it is to actually be able to stop that scout. And we have that second batch of Stalkers coming out, and they'll be able to take out this as well. But he's not actually showing, and that's actually very important that you note that. All right, let me go back really quickly, and I want you to see. Let's just look. I'm going to slow it down, and let's just look at I am MVP's vision. And we can see right now, Cygnus held those 2 Stalkers in his main base on purpose so that MVP only saw the 1. And that is huge because if MVP had seen 3 Stalkers, rather, that's proper English, had he seen 3 Stalkers, he would have known to prepare and defend against it. But since he didn't, now he's going to be a little less prepared when this push does come. So, just sticking with these 2 gateways early on, after those initial 3 Stalkers coming out with some sentries there, obviously Force Field and Guardian Shield is huge, and then coming out with the Robo. So this is the initial plan. This is the initial plan for Cygnus. 2-gate, Robo, Stalker heavy initial push, Proxy Pylon for when that warp gate research finishes, which is just about now, and then some early game aggression. Now with this early game aggression, with this 2-gate Robo Stalker heavy, he's spotting the expansion come up. We can see right now, that alone is a dead giveaway, but if you can push on in, a lot of times you won't actually see the physical expansion because the Terran player will build it into their main, but if you see this, that is pretty much a dead giveaway. Now something else really neat there, trying to micro back those Stalkers with low health. Always want to not get surrounded by SCVs. SCVs may not seem threatening, but with a couple Marines as backup, they're going to do a lot of damage. The entire point really of that initial push there was to just soften up the units. And he even messed up a little bit. Cygnus even had a few of those sentries back at home. Had those been rallied over here, he would have done a lot more damage with that initial push. But here's the point where, okay, we've spotted what's going on. We know that he's coming out that expansion. So this next step is a decision. Now the decision is either come out with an expo of your own or drop 2 gateways or whatever and come out with some more aggression. Sickness decides, I'm going to continue to be aggressive, using that Robo to get that Warp Prism early on, and with those 2 additional gateways, now he's in a position where he can do a lot of damage. Now the next thing we're going to see is actually really cool tactic from Sickness. Once that Robo comes up and these gateways are finished, we're going to see a very awesome tactic, and something that you should certainly give a try. From that initial get-go, switching up to a little more Sentry Heavy, that will be a good idea. Force Fields plus Guardian Shield are your friend in early game aggression. Even in early game defense, Force Fields are very crucial. But in this early aggression, being able to force field the bunker to prevent repairs and being able to Guardian Shield, and even just look at something as simple as that, splitting the forces there with those force fields and being able to trap almost half of the bulk of the Marine army on this side and take them out without the other half being able to do anything to help out. That's an obviously pretty big situation. Now this is the really awesome tactic that we're going to see Sickness do. He's got now his additional gateways up, so he's sitting on those 4 gateways. He's able to warp in to the main now with this Warp Prism. The biggest thing that we're going to see him do, though, is make proper use of force fields, and look at that. So realize why this situation happened. MVP sees the push at the front of his base. Obviously, the bulk of his forces will be at his expansion to defend against that push at the front. Using the Warp Prism to warp into his main, if you can maintain a constant force field on that ramp, you'll prevent him from being able to defend himself, and look at that. So all of these forces for MVP not able to assist at all. This allows you to take out the production buildings, get rid of depots, hurt his economy, and this is just way too much, and this is actually alone going to force MVP to call the good game. It should happen in just one moment. But anyways, the game's over, but very, very nice play here by Sickness. Again, he pushed out with that early aggression. The initial plan was simply 3-gate Robo, 2-gate Robo. So he went Stalker Heavy, early aggression, 2-gate Robo. He spotted the expansion, the dead giveaway, of course, being that bunker at the front of the natural. And then upon seeing that, the decision for Sickness is, what am I going to do? And this force field action is just so intense. The decision is, what am I going to do? I've got 2 gates in Robo. He's expanded, obviously, spotting the bunker. So you could drop a Nexus, or you could be, hey, I'm going to be aggressive, as we saw Sickness do. He came out with those 2 more gateways. He got that Warp Prism, and a really awesome tactic. Again, MVP is forced to situate his units at the front of his natural because there's a force sitting on side of his main. But if you sneak up in there with the Warp Prism, warp up inside of the main base, and force field the ramp while all of his forces are down defending the natural, that's a pretty quick and easy victory for you, as long as you maintain that force field. Very, very nice situation indeed. All right, guys, so let me go over that build order one more time. Started out 9 Pylon, 13 Gateway, 16 were 2 Assimilators, 16 Supply was also that Cybernetics Core once the first Gateway finished, 18 Supply, second Gateway came out with heavy Stalkers early on, pushed out with just those 3, realized how strong Stalkers are early game against those Marines, and also denying scouting is pretty huge as well. 32 Supply was the Robo. He did that little push out there, and then once spotting that expansion, came out with 2 additional Gateways instead of expanding himself, and then pushed up. And we saw that very excellent Warp Prism play there with the Sentry Force Field at the ramp, denying the units of MVP from helping in that main base defense. Alright guys, so hopefully you have enjoyed the strategy video. As always, if you like the content, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep watching and keep owning.